welcome back everybody to another Elite Investor Show. I'm James Lascara and I'm joined today by real estate extraordinaire Mike Jones. Big presence in Tampa. What do you think you have in store for 2025 as we kind of kick off the new year? What are you most excited about?
Well, first and foremost, thank you, for having me on. It's an honor. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
2025 for me, I think it's kind of the cliche of like this is going to be the best year ever. But I'm always looking for just like that next level of growth and to continue pushing not only myself but the team as well.
Yeah.
And something that you and I, were talking about just a moment ago. I think this year I'm going to lean a lot more into the development side of things. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm really looking forward to this year.
Yeah, we were just talking off screen before we kind of kicked off here about how the time value of money, like you spent less time in 2024 in your development business as opposed to the off-market stuff, but that actually led to projected better returns. Mm-hmm. That's like disproportionate value right there.
For sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily measure that. So it's good that you're measuring that and making decisions accordingly.
Well, honestly, I'm really blessed. My partner, David Clemens, he was the one that pointed it out to me. Mm-hmm. As we were just sitting down and game planning for 2025, and just sitting down, it's like, what's working well right now, what's not working, where are we seeing the best returns, things like that. And he's the one that actually brought it up. So I'm thankful to have people around me that, can help me call things out and see things from different perspectives.
I think everybody needs that. I think everybody needs that. I know I need that. I know my team, Felix is sitting there right next to the camera right now. Sometimes we talk about, not business stuff, like life.
For sure.
Why are you in a bad mood today, man?
Yeah. What's going on? Dude?
It's good. I actually feel like there's different levels, different little, almost like proximity layers, I would call it, to where, you have that first layer, which is like people who know you really well and you probably interact with on a consistent basis. Yep. I know you're married and you have kids. I'm not, so that's not part of my first layer. And then it just grows outwardly from there. Maybe you have like another layer of colleagues. But those first 1 to 3 layers that can help hold you accountable, support you when you're kind of, you're in a little bit of a funk. I think that definitely has helped me stay on track at certain times. So
I totally agree. And that's why I really appreciate groups like EIMG, because you're just surrounded by high performers.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, we're all going through hell every single day. So it's like we're going to get caught up in the fight a little bit. And so I appreciate having people around me that are able to call me out and, keep me on track.
It inspires me. Like, you don't want to be the one who's kind of like sucking.
Right.
But I always joke about entrepreneurship. Like, entrepreneurship, you can go from a standpoint in one day of being like, dude, I'm a king. Like, I'm crushing it. Everything, I made this happen. Like, I'm absolutely crushing it. To 13 minutes later, like, dude, how did our organization not see that coming? Some blindside kind of thing. So
for sure.
Yeah, and that can all happen all in the same day. So I've definitely been there.
That's for sure. Roller coaster.
We're dealing with some of those right now. But I think how I view growth is if you're actually escalating over time the size of your problems, you're probably on the right track.
I love that.
Like, if you're dealing with small problems that don't stress you out, and I'm not trying to like look for I'm not trying to look for friction, right? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But if you're escalating the problems that you're solving, like, you're probably growing your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole game.
Yeah. Okay, so excited for development in 2025. I think you're actively looking for deals right now.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah. What do you think your ideal criteria is for a new deal right now?
It's interesting. I mean, I really like the townhome plays. We're doing the 6 units over on Gray Street. Mm-hmm. I can tell those are a little bit fewer and further between. They're a little bit harder to find. So one thing that we talked about as a team is, doing some affordable housing, looking in areas like Lakeland, Dade City, things like that, and just throwing up some spec houses in like the 300,000 range. Mm-hmm. Try to go do 20, 30 of those this year and, see how it turns out type of thing. Yeah.
So are all your development projects structured in a way they're build to sell? So
correct.
Yeah. Because you got a few people who hold on to them.
Yeah, it's honestly, we're going through and we're selling our entire rental portfolio right now. So we just looked at it from a standpoint of like, we can put that cash to work in better places for higher returns. And the work that goes into a rental portfolio, like I'm sure you and many of the viewers are aware of, it's a lot of work. So for us, it's been a little bit more of a distraction value add to where we're going.
Yeah, I think rentals can contribute. They're good for stability. They can contribute to your long-term equity growth, but it's not going to happen very quick.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like cut my teeth, I guess, on the residential real estate long-term rental space. And I have also sold all my rentals except for one in Tampa, besides the house that I live in.
Yeah.
Because, John, we'll give a shout out to John Parker here for a second. Like, talking to him, I think he talked at your meetup, and then I did a video shoot with him almost a year ago about this exact principle. Like, rentals are great. You can get somebody else to pay your bills. That's fine. That's good for stability. But it's pretty hard to rapidly grow value and increase your ability to make more at scale with like your residential single family home.
For sure.
Can you do it? Yes. My opinion is yes, you can. It's just, it takes operating at such a massive scale. And in my opinion, managing single units for where we're at right now is pretty inefficient for the trade-offs that come
Totally
with it.
agree.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people too as well that I love talking to John because he's just one of those guys that's like always pushing you to think bigger.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah, I think it's good to have people like that kind of in your layers, right?
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. What has you in particular selling the rentals? Like for me, there was one, I'll tell you a story real quick. There was a rental that we picked up, and there was just kind of like a nightmare tenant in there. It's kind of like what you said earlier, just like how are you spending your time for the value that it actually creates? And my ops manager at the time was spending so much time going out to the site, reviewing repair requests, just all these things that kept piling up. Hey, this window broke, and it's like, well, how did that break? That shouldn't have broke. Like, did you break the window? And it was it was this one window that like made my decision. I was like, we're selling these rentals, dude.
Burn it all down.
Dude, it was like this old 100-year-old window broke. It's just a small window that was like part of almost like a closet.
Okay.
And then the window guy, he was like, well, we have to fix this from the outside, but the supporting area beneath it, like, I'm not sure that'll hold my weight. We'd have to like erect scaffolding. This window became like a $3,000 problem. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, no. So actually, it was 2 days later, I was like, I'm going to sell this early. I bought that particular deal on seller financing, and I sold it like 7 months later, made like $65,000 in 7 months. So I was like, hey, if you can get a good return quickly from your money, like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like that one thing that just kind of slapped me upside the head. And it's just like, I still think residential rentals can be good. It can help you build, but for us now to grow, it's just not really our thing.
Yeah, no, we did the burst strategy into all of them. You know, buying them with bridge loans, fixing them up, and refinancing. And I mean, we were able to fill them with tenants pretty quickly. We've got people on payroll to help us manage them, things like that. But I mean, when you're sitting there looking at single-digit returns, yes, we created some equity, but is that really the best use of my cash at this moment?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Yeah. Did you have a window story at all? Was there one?
Dude, we're getting sued right now for a frivolous trip and fall claim. We've got tenants that they moved out and they left a bunch of junk in the front yard, some mattresses and stuff. And we had our guy go there, meet the person on site to pick them up. They pick them up, took them, came back around and dropped them off. And because we found out because the city calls us and they're like, dude, you got a code violation. This stuff is still here. Are you going to come pick it up or what?
You're like, no, we took care of that.
Dude, I got pictures right here. What do you mean? He's like, no, I'm sitting right here. I'm looking at it. I'm like, unbelievable.
So you hired somebody, I presume you'd never worked with them before? They were just like a junk
No,
pickup?
it's our property manager went and met the tenant on site saying, hey, come get your crap and get it out of here. The guy comes and picks it up and then brings it back the next day, apparently.
You
can't make this up, dude.
Had you already given them their security deposit?
Luckily, we ended up keeping their deposit for other things, but with all the damage and everything that they caused and all the problems, we're still underwater on it. We need to send them a bill, basically.
Yeah. Do you actually do that? Do you send them a bill?
No, I mean, it's a complete waste of time. Just
you're never
going to
get it. You're never gonna. You're never gonna get it.
So
we had an eviction last year, and it was crazy because I went to the property to place notice, and the tenant was there, and we had a conversation, and it was crazy the level of delusion that people who just like dodge rent. Well, she was just. I don't think she was like malicious person at all.
Sure.
I'll say that, but it was just like. I'm gonna come up with the funds like by tomorrow. Like, well, how do you plan to do that? Like, I don't know. Like, you've said that for 8 weeks and there's been nothing, and now, I learned a lot of lessons on that one. So there's a dichotomy, right? So you've got like all landlords are greedy and bad, and then you've got like all tenants are there to take advantage of a landlord.
Yeah.
But what I would say is for a landlord, obviously that's the business we're in.
Sure.
As a landlord. It just takes 1 or 2 tenants to kind of like ruin it to where you're like, you're 4 days late on rent. Like, here's a notice.
For sure.
You can't do, you want to move out early. Like, here's a break lease fee.
Yeah.
So I just feel like in the past I wanted to create options for people and not never take advantage of anybody and be as fair as possible. But I feel I've been taken advantage of before.
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we try to be flexible and do things, but at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah.
There's mortgages that have to get paid every single month. Yeah. And we're paying those mortgages. So if they're not paying rent, I mean, there's only so much optionality that we can give.
Yeah. And also I remind myself of this in business as much as I can. Like, for the person who takes the risk, the reward is theirs.
Certainly. No
risk, no reward. And so it's like, well, the tenant, the tenant should be responsible for paying the mortgage, and you should. I've heard that before from people. Like, the landlord shouldn't get anything above that. It's like, well, the tenant is not taking the risk for anything. Right. Like, you're the one dealing with a lawsuit. The tenant's not dealing with a lawsuit.
It's silly.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah,
wild
for
stuff.
Sure.
Okay. So what does that look like as your exodus from residential rentals?
We're just listing them all on the market, and some of them have vacated, so we'll, try to sell those retail, but we're just listing them on the market and try to sell them as quick as possible.
They're all single family homes?
Single family, there's 5 single family, there's a 20-unit apartment building, and then 1 duplex. Yeah. All within an hour of Tampa.
Yeah. What I've found with the smaller multifamily, like the 2 to 4 units, is get 1 unit vacant and then list it. And then, first of all, it's really good for showing, so people can go to that one side. But then what I noticed is you'll get all these FHA, VA, and then
house hackers.
That might want to buy it.
That's a great idea.
And so actually, those people will pay the most. Those people can afford to pay the most because they want to live in a unit where they can get some residual income. Yeah. And so they can afford the most versus
that's a great point.
An investor who's like, I need to make an 8% cash return. Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I like that.
Unfortunately, you only have 1 of them, but
and unfortunately, we just re-signed the lease. But it's it is an 8 cap as it sits, so
that's good.
Hopefully, we'll be able to sell it fairly quickly here.
Cool. Yeah, good deal. So I know before we got going on camera, we also talked about like the principle of adversity and how it's contributed to your long-term growth. You want to dive into a little bit of that today? Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So I mean, I've told this story before, but for those that haven't heard it, I went to prison when I was 19 for selling drugs. Yeah. So for me, that was a real eye-opener and kind of my first like real taste of some serious adversity. Yeah. And I think adversity is really interesting because it's something that everyone faces on a certain level, regardless of who you are. Yeah. So, and to me, it's most of the time with adversity is it helps us find another gear within ourselves that we don't think we had. Yeah. So that's one thing that I do appreciate about it is that there's always like room to grow and there's always a growth opportunity when we're running into adversity. Yeah. Well, how long were you in prison? 3 years, and then I came out and did another 3 years on probation. Yeah. And what was that experience like coming into it? I mean, scary or just like... It was just hell, dude. It was hell. I mean, I'm going in as a 19-year-old kid, thinking I'm tough and surrounded by a bunch of guys doing life and that just could care less about living. I mean, it's one thing, I think one of the biggest things I took away from it is like looking at somebody in the eyes that just, there's just nobody there. Really? You just got guys just walking around just empty. Because, I mean, these guys are in here with like multiple life sentences, just waking up, just living in hell every single day. Yeah. It's a terrible place to be,
for sure.
And I know right now you're a man of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that through that experience, or was that before or after, or kind of?
No, honestly, it was after. I had a relationship with God, and I was able to spend time in the Word, things like that. But there wasn't a necessarily like coming and finding my faith in prison. I actually, when I got out of prison, I kind of fell away from my faith a little bit, and then I met my first sales and leadership coach, and I was going through like a program of his, and he kept asking me like, rate your priorities. Where's faith, on your priorities? I'm like, faith is at the bottom. I'm here to become a better leader, and I want to learn sales. I want to make more money. He just kind of smiled and chuckled at me, and just like kept going on with the teaching. And finally, he just like kept drilling at me about like faith. He's like, dude, you're an idiot. He's like, everything starts with faith. He's like, your relationship with God, that's your foundation. That's where everything starts.
Yeah.
And he was the one that ended up baptizing me and, leading me back into my faith.
Special.
And
nice.
Still a really close friend to this day.
That's great.
Yeah.
So do you feel like
that's it,
integrating faith into your business and how you're trying to grow your business, but also faith is very important to you? It's kind of a pillar of your core values, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that has led you to be a custodian in your eyes for God's will, like carrying that out through your business?
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's one thing that is like part of my mission statement is like being an exceptional leader that creates opportunities.
I like that.
And I think it's like
that's the title.
That's one of the taglines. So
yeah.
It's where that comes from is because when I got out of prison, I couldn't even get a job at McDonald's, dude.
Yeah.
Like I'm working on the back of landscaping trucks just because I have to have a job for like $8 an hour type of thing. Like just absolutely ridiculous things.
Yeah.
And so it's like I look at other people that are coming out of prison and things like that, or just general kids that are graduating college or getting out of high school and they're looking for opportunities. It's like you can make a lot of money within real estate and sales and these different avenues. And being able to open people's eyes to that and show them how to do it and how to go about that, I think is life-changing for a lot of people.
I agree. What? Say that statement again if you have it ready. What was it?
To be an exceptional leader that creates opportunities.
Yeah. Do you have anything in mind specifically in 2025 that you're doing to foster that?
So the wholesale company, that's part of the reason behind the wholesale company is because we can bring in sales agents that can work on commission and learn about sales, learn about leadership, and learn how to find good deals and work with buyers. The development, there's going to be a lot of money spent in the development company, so it's always about expanding the current team. So we'll probably make a couple internal hires. And also just even working with all the subs and everything and just working with different companies that, employ people through that as well.
Yeah. Now, what is because the development company, you're a teammate on it, right?
Yep.
What is your specific role, like acquisitions and project management?
Pretty much, yeah. So I'm the one that like runs all the operations of it.
Okay, cool. I guess we're unique in this regard. Like you kind of have different teams based on which sector of real estate you're involved in.
Yeah.
But then you have your central team, like you and Maddie.
Yep.
I think you have a VA too, right?
Correct, a VA and then a sales guy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what the wholesale company looks like. And then my partner David on the development company, he's like the one that handles a lot of the finance portion of it. So because his main day to day is the private lending company.
Yeah.
So that's where we kind of make up a good team. Is like I run the development side and the operations side of things, and he does the finance portion of things.
Yeah, makes sense. What do you think the market's looking like in 2025? Just for reference, it's the second week of January 2025, because by the time this actually gets edited, it'll be, I don't know, maybe a few weeks down the road. So,
dude, I'm still trying to order that crystal ball on Amazon, but they're still out of it. But for me, I think it's, everybody's saying interest rates are still going to be pretty stale. So and kind of hang out where they're at now. And I don't know. We've certainly seen like active days on market increase, a lot of price drops, things like that. So I think we're going to, probably see a continued softening in the market a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think it's going to be pretty stale. And especially like with the new NAR settlement, think about like your first time home buyer.
Yeah.
Of someone who's like saving every dollar that they have to go buy their first home.
Yeah.
And now they hear that they have to pay a realtor's commission on top of it as well. You know, unbeknownst to most, it's like for us on our properties, we still offer a buyer's commission.
Oh, I think to get the best positioning in the
100%.
market, you really need to.
It would be crazy not to.
Yeah.
So we still do that. So, but I'm not sure that's like common knowledge yet. I think a lot of people like will hear the news and they watch TV and they're like, oh, I got to pay an extra $10,000 or $15,000. It's like, no, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah. I think the key word that I think about is like may. You may have to if you really want the property and you've signed a buyer broker agreement.
Sure.
And the seller is not offering compensation for the buyer's agent, then you may have to.
Yeah.
But it depends on, you can make it subject to your offer, right?
Yeah.
You can throw that as part of your offer. So
or choose a different property.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's just like, it's keeping people out of the market a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not, it's kind of remains to be seen, but I think it's a little bit of a pain point for most.
Can you imagine that happening in like March 2022?
Oh, dude.
Man, that would have been absolutely insane.
For sure.
Complete chaos. Complete chaos would have ensued.
For
so
sure.
I remember March 2022 because I am an agent and I did decent transaction volume 2022 through like halfway through 2024.
Okay.
And I started growing the team here and started giving more of my leads and referrals to my own agents on my team. Okay. It's great. It's like we have a great collaborative environment, and I try my best to support them in their deals instead of just doing all my own deals.
Sure.
But anyway, so March 2022, I went to an open house with a buyer and get in line. Like literally, dude, get in line. Like we don't have enough space in this house because there's so many freaking people that are coming in, and it's just a revolving door at the house.
For sure.
It's like, good luck. Hey, we're already $50,000 above the listing price. So I can't imagine the environment we would have had if that settlement had come 2 years prior. You know, 3 years prior would have been pretty insane.
So. It was a great time for flipping, though.
Yeah.
I think we flipped like 30 houses that year or something.
Yeah, yeah. I will say, you know what? I will say, as an agent, if I'm looking for me, because like I'll look for my own deals on the MLS.
Sure.
When I see a deal and I call and they're like, yeah, we're offering a 1% commission or something that's like not really what I would consider to be quite the industry standard, which is 2.5, around 2.5, maybe 3%.
Yeah.
I personally get excited because here's why. I'm going to be able to probably make a better deal happen. And the reason why is there's so much less traffic to that property. So I love it personally as a buyer when they're either not offering, just straight out like, nope, no commission to the buyer's agent, or low, below the industry standard. When that has happened, on the ones that I really wanted, I've made good deals happen.
I love that, dude. Yeah. I think that's what, like one piece that sets you apart is just like looking for that adversity. You know, seriously, it's like you're seeking that adversity and you're getting excited about it because you know there's an opportunity there. And I think that's where a lot of people miss the mark. It's like they'll shy away from adversity, or it's like, oh, it's the same thing with like on-market deals. You know, wholesalers, there's this like whole fallacy behind, oh, I'm not looking at on-market deals. It's like, dude, it's a house and the seller wants to sell.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, figure out what price works.
I kind of prefer on-market a little bit.
Okay.
Because I feel, okay, so the times I've bought off market, there's pros and cons to both. Right?
Sure.
But the times I've bought off market, you have a wholesaler that's between you and the seller.
Yep.
Same with on market, you've got an agent that's between you and the seller.
Yep.
So they're kind of similar in that regard. But typically it's like $5,000 that goes hard immediately without ever seeing the property.
Yep.
And you can't really get an inspection period, and you don't fully know what you're getting into, and there's not really much negotiating, at least in the terms. Yeah. And with on market, it's like, well, let's make this offer. Yeah. Okay, there's some conversation that can be had. Let's have a longer inspection period. Yeah. I feel like as long as you are your own agent, or your agent is on your team, and like you don't have two go-betweens for the to get to the seller. I feel like for the investment deals we've picked up on market, it's worked out pretty well for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like that.
Yeah. Also, I've seen a lot of wholesale deals, especially recently, that I'm just like, it's not a good deal.
It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are complete complete joke.
Yeah. And it's like, I would buy it at your price, but then the wholesaler can't make money if they're
Sure.
selling at their price. So yeah, some of the people that buy these deals, I'm like, man, you have a high risk of doing this project for free.
Well, I mean, coming from someone that has done projects for free,
Yeah.
right? It's like I've been on that side of things,
Yeah.
and it's like that's why, in my opinion, companies like have built such a bad reputation, because it's like they're just like driving and forcing for a fee versus like actually trying to set someone up for success.
Yeah.
You know, with the buyers that we work with, it's like these guys are showing up at our events. Our office is in Clearwater. Like everybody knows where I'm at. You can, you know, pull up on me at any time.
Yeah.
It's not like, that's what I think kind of like sets wholesalers apart. Is like, are you actually providing value to a buyer and helping them find their next deal?
Yeah.
Or are you just trying to push something down like a newbie's throat and hit a fee?
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you that guy's never coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So to me, it's like we really focus on building relationships, long-lasting relationships, and helping people find their next deal.
I think it's important. Let's talk about like personal life a little bit. I know we talked about this. We talked about this, you know, when we went to the Gray Street site, and that was when there wasn't even trusses. There's no roof on the thing. It was just open block walls.
Yeah.
And I remember you talked about like your family's really important to you, the faith aspect, growing as a leader, challenging yourself, accomplishing goals. You talked about how you like to run and do triathlons and stuff. You still doing those?
Not as much this year. I don't have any on the calendar this year. I think this year I'm just going to put like one marathon on the calendar and then try to do like a 100-mile bike ride or something.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I like doing those things that push myself physically.
Yeah.
Because it's such a mental game.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I think, like going through prison early on, it was just like at that point in life, I was just such a weak-minded individual.
Yeah.
And so it's like doing these endurance things that are just, you know, kind of ridiculous to most people. It's just like one of those things that just help me continue to push through, because it's, as business owners, and especially in real estate, it's like we're facing adversity all day, every single day.
Yeah.
Like most of what we deal with is problems. So it's like if I can continually just like train myself to seek those problems and continue to push through them and just focus on like what's right in front of me, to me it's like a direct correlation to business.
Another thing I try to remind myself of is if it was markedly easier, I'd probably appreciate the breakthroughs less.
For sure.
I'd appreciate them less.
100%.
Yeah, because when you have these, hopefully you're not learning the same lessons over and over and over. There is sometimes that. There is sometimes, you know, that, especially with repetitive processes. But when you're dealing with challenge frequently enough and those challenges force you to grow, then when the breakthrough inevitably occurs, then I just appreciate it so much more.
Yeah. And to me, it's like that is like what we're seeking out, is that breakthrough and that personal growth. My coach, Rob Fott, he calls them micro transformations.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's like just seeking out those micro transformations to where it's like, oh, that was a complete game changer. You know, finding that other gear inside yourself that you didn't know you had. It's like, that changes a lot of things.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a muscle. I think it's a muscle too.
It is.
I think everybody's got their opinion on this. It's like, I think on one hand, you've got people like grinding is just like not good for you. To me, I think it's a muscle. And if you don't ever exercise a muscle, it atrophies.
100%.
And so that's why that's why I like, when the alarm goes off many mornings, like I don't want to get up. I'm same as all y'all. But
for sure.
I think the difference is not every time, by the way, I'm still human. You're still human. I'm not a robot, but most of the time I still do the thing.
Yeah.
And so I think when you flex that muscle and you exercise that muscle, then when you have this thing that came up in a deal that you thought was closing tomorrow and you're really looking forward to that revenue for the team and everything was all good, and now it's not, you're like, this will be okay.
Yeah. You posted something yesterday. You said there's, I forget how you put it, but you're like, you know the difference between my bad days and my good days? Absolutely nothing, because I do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love that because it's so true. It's just like you've built that discipline and that routine to like do what needs to be done regardless of how you're feeling. You know, so many people like operate off of how they feel, And to me, it's really detrimental.
Yeah, and at the same time, I'm not saying, and I think we're on the same page with this, but I'm not saying like disregard how you feel.
For sure.
You need to acknowledge it. You need to appreciate that celebrate having feelings by behaving like a human.
Sure.
But we all have feelings, and I'm not saying like grind into the dirt and ignore everything else and make a robot out of yourself, because that's no way to go through life and enjoy what you have. But on the hard days, there is a special capacity in being able to push through the challenges and being in that mode. Like, I just don't feel like doing it today. If you want to grow. If you don't want to grow, just be weak. It's okay.
Don't do it.
Yeah. It's funny because I think I put that on my social media story, and somebody who I don't know well, I don't think I've even met them in person, they're like, James, are you okay? Like, you should really give yourself time to reflect on, like, it's okay. It was like I don't know what it was. It was like a little therapy session or whatever. And they're like, you don't need to be a robot. And I was like, I'm about as close to robot as you get, dude. Like, I'm pretty close. Like, in fact, that's my goal. So, yeah. But I don't think she understood that. Yeah. That humor. So
that's funny.
Yeah. There you go.
That's hilarious.
I think it is a special thing, though. It is a special thing to be able to push through.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, I ran, or I guess a year and a half, I ran my age in miles on my birthday, and I'm 37 now, so it was 36 at the time. Okay. And I want to pick that back up this year. I think
that's awesome.
Outside of work stuff, I want to lean more into my faith and lean more into the ultra running, because I think that puts my spirit, that puts my mind in the best spot. Like those two things. So I'm looking forward to that this year personally.
Okay. What else are you looking forward to this year?
Okay, so I'm looking forward to a few things. First thing, I feel like the last quarter of 2024, like people from within EIMG will text me. I probably get 3 to 5 texts every day from different people, and I love it. Like, I love it. It's not a burden. It's not a chore. And in doing that, I'll ask about what they have going on. Like, hey, what else do you need help with? Whatever. And for whatever reason, like Q4, I've never seen so many epic wins from people. Just like people, and I'm not taking responsibility for that. That's them.
Sure.
I'm grateful that there can be like this collaborative environment where they can get the support that hopefully they need. But I would frame it as like continue stacking Savage wins the best that I can by encouraging that collaboration in the group. So that's a big focus for me in 2025. We also, throughout 2024, I noticed that entrepreneurs, not just real estate, but also entrepreneurs in different sectors, different industries, would ask me stuff about things like hiring or retaining team members, or like delivering your vision, like growing team over time. And I realized you'll appreciate this, what they're really asking about is leadership. Okay. And so I was like, well, I basically took my framework from my special operations career in the military, and I was like, how do I replicate that the best I can for my entrepreneur journey? Yeah. And I did, and that's what you see now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, how can I kind of merge both things I've learned, the entrepreneur side and the military special operations side, into something where I can help other people grow as leaders who ideally they already have to have some business running. Like, I'm not trying to start from scratch with anybody. And so we started this thing, I call it the Leadership Intensive. In fact, there's a session later today, but we've got some folks in that now. Right now it's kind of like a pilot program. Okay. But iterating on that and doing a second session later in June is something I'm pretty excited about. It's just a total passion project of mine, so I like it. We'd like to do 10 development deals this year. We're not like the biggest. We're not the biggest on the block. There's definitely people doing more volume. There's definitely people doing higher margin deals. But I think every deal we learn something. Every deal, we get some good reps. And so right now we have 3, and I don't think all 10 will all be at the same time. But some of these rezoning entitlement deals that we're doing, I count that. Yeah. And so doing more of those, and either choosing to take the project vertical or just sell it once it's ready. Is something I'm looking forward to.
I like that.
And then 100 transactions in our agent team in 2025. I think it's definitely possible. We had 40 in 2024. Okay. And challenging market. It's not really an excuse. It is a data point. So I'm looking forward to helping the agent team get those results and like empower them the best I can with marketing and leads and stuff like that. So
I love that, dude.
I think that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole deal.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, even I can tell there's already like some momentum picking up in the market as we, head into 2025. I think coming off the election year, a lot of people were kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for that to, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard,
like what?
honestly. But
Yeah.
it makes no sense. But we saw a lot of that with different buyers that we work with, and so we're already seeing some momentum pick up. People are setting new goals. Hey, I want to flip X amount of houses this year, that type of thing. So
I like it. Yeah.
I think it's really pretty viable to be able to hit 100 transactions and 2x the deal flow.
Yeah.
As we head into this year.
Yeah. So right now it's me plus 4 agents. I don't do too many clients anymore. I'll do like Jesse, he's a longtime friend. He's in the group. Like he's doing one where he just need to get it on the market and do the formal decision in the process. Mm-hmm. So like that'll be one this year. So I'll probably do, I don't know, 5 to 10 this year personally, sure. But among the 4 others, and we'll probably bring on 1 or 2 additional agents. And so, if we have 5 folks, additional 90 transactions among 5 folks, it's 18 per person. That's like 1.5 transactions per month. Yeah. 3 transactions every 2 months. I think that's super attainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
How do you think leadership has, or I guess what you've learned in leadership, how do you think you've been able to apply that to your entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think humans have a pretty good tendency to spot a fake leader or like a weak leader. Sure. And so I guess how I've applied that is I try to lead as my genuine self. Mm-hmm. That sounds super, super cliche and everybody probably says that, but here's a few things that I do. When I make a mistake, I usually tell them about it. Sure. I'm usually just open because think about that for a second. I want them to know that sometimes when we try a new thing that we haven't tried before, like it won't always work. Yeah. And instead of having a team culture where trust me, the standard performance is high. Like the standard for delivery is high. So it's not like we're going to accept substandard performance. Sure. But expecting success 100.0% of the time is not how humans work. It's not realistic. Mm-hmm. And so I think being real about the times, I think I did it yesterday. I messed something up. I missed something we were supposed to do, and I just completely took ownership of it. I think as a leader, that sets a really good example for how your team needs to be, how you want your team to be, that culture, because you're showing them that it's okay. And in fact, I want you to make a mistake instead of stuffing it under the rug. Maybe we'll find it out later. Could be a big ballooning issue later. So that's one thing that I try to do. I try to be the hardest worker in the room. Yeah. Like nobody wants the leader who's just like lazy and just orders everybody around and
leaders eat last.
Yeah. Yep. Simon Sinek, good book. Yeah. So that's I feel like I've been that way kind of since high school. So it's natural for me. Yeah. I swam in college. I was like, dude, I'm the first one in for warm up. Like don't get in my lane and expect to lead. Like sure. I'm gonna be the one. So like win every set in practice. I'm just kind of I'm competitive and I want to show my team that it is appreciated and encouraged to put in the work. That's what we're about. So that's another principle. If there's one thing I've seen that leads deals awry, leads businesses astray, it's uncommunicated assumptions. If there's it's like what's the number one thing that causes everything to blow up? It's like you assume one thing, we didn't talk about it. Yeah. I assume a different thing. We go different directions. Like, how did that happen? For sure. And so I think that's definitely one thing that I try to apply. I'll tell you one thing I struggle with as a leader. I think a good leader probably listens less than he or she talks. And you should probably literally 50% of the time, you should spend less than 50% of the time just talking. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes I don't do that, right? Okay. And I think it's because I come from the standpoint with my team, at this point, I still know more about all real estate things than y'all. Sure. And so when I'm having to explain something like technical expertise, I'm kind of giving them that guidance versus them already knowing the process maybe and just being able to run with it. But yeah, that's something I'm working on. Like just be an active listener and don't always be the one that. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel this urge to be so involved in their business, myself included, that they can always be the hero.
Yeah.
Like if I'm the one with the solutions all the
Sure.
time, like I'm the one that saved the day, I'm the hero, I'm the one that made it happen. And I think that can be successful to a point.
For sure.
And then it's not.
Yeah.
And then it caps your growth. So
you got to grow people.
Something that I try to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love leadership as a topic, and I think it's something that's, quite overlooked.
Yeah.
A bunch, and to me, it's just so detrimental to business in every aspect, and not just like the owner, the leader of the company, but it's like everybody within the company is a leader in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Firm but fair.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I'm a firm but fair leader.
Good tagline.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool, man. I enjoyed this session together. Talk about a lot of different stuff. I'm excited for the year. I've never been more fired up.
I am too. I'm pumped up. I'm ready for it.
Cool, man.
So,
well, thanks for joining us.
Stuff,
yeah,
man.
thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on. Yeah.